Hello everybody, sorry we're a bit late, bit of a kerfuffle there because we forgot the time. Anyway, I'm here now and I'm going to show you how to weave on the dinky looms. I think most people have figured it out by now because it's not exactly rocket science, is it? But I'll show you anyway, and this video can be uploaded to YouTube and it'll also be available in the Facebook files of the group, so that if people want a copy of their own they'll be able to download it. So any questions, post them as we go, post them afterwards, and obviously the video will be saved in the group as well. So here we go then. One dinky loom, and most of you will have seen a picture of this before. And here's the squares that I have been weaving on them so far. And I know a couple of people have already woven 2 or 3 squares. They really don't take long to do. You don't have to concentrate to do them, which is great if you're going to a knitting group or sitting on the train or going for a day out in Glasgow for your hubby's birthday tea, as we did yesterday. So let's have a look then how to start this. So what I've got here is, sorry, wrong way up. I've just tied a knot to one of the end pegs. And now I'm going to go down round the nail. And I'm just holding it there with my finger just to keep a little bit of tension on it. You don't want it really, really tight, but you do want it a little bit tight so that the weaving doesn't jump off the pegs, and also it helps you to get the edges straight. So I'm just going across and back. Any yarn for this is fine. I love using leftover bits of hand spun to do the actual weaving with. I mean, you can do weaving on these with 6 inches of yarn. You can use up all those tiny little scraggy bits, and they go a surprisingly long way. So here we are, nearly at the other end already. And when I get to here, I'm just going to snip this off, and then I'm going to tie it round the peg in a single knot, which is exactly what I did at the other end before I started. No point in showing it twice, so I thought I'll just show you here. So just keeping the tension on that as you do it. Now you could just tie another knot on top of there. Obviously then you've got a bit of a problem getting it out afterwards, and you do need to sew this end in. So you could sew it in with a knot in, it wouldn't matter. But I'm going to tie a half bow. So instead of pulling that end all the way through the knot, I've just left it in a loop. Pull it nice and firm. And make sure you do the half bow with the loose tail, not with the bit that's on the warp. Okay, so we're all warped up, so let's get some little bits of hand spun and leftover stuff, etc. to weave with. I'm going to chop those funny ends off. Thread it on the weaving needle. If you buy the kit, you get one of these weaving needles with it. You get a bodkin with all of them. And if you buy the kit, you also get yarns. So we're going to start and go under, over, and this weaving needle is cranked. It's got a bend there, which really does make it very easy to work with. I just find these so much easier than pin looms with the pins all around the sides, which, if I'm honest, drive me potty. I'm going to move these squares out of the way now. This is going to be this is going to be a scarf soon. So I'm going to pull that down. And it's quite handy if you can actually have these beaten right down as close to the pegs as you can get. It just means you end up with less of a space. I've got a tail here, and one of the beauties is when you're weaving is you don't actually have to end up with lots of ends to sew in. So what I'm going to do with this tail is I'm just going to go and pick up a few of these ends, and I'm going to tuck it through. So you see what I've done there, I've woven it as if it was in the next shed or the next row. It's like bricks on a wall. If you go under, over one way, you go over, under the next way, so that it goes the opposite way around each warp thread. These are the warps, than the way it did before. And that's going to go the same way as the next row, but that doesn't actually matter. So now I'm going to go under, over, because I went over, under before. And when I get to the end of a row, I can actually use this to just firm up the previous row, which makes it really a lot easier and quicker than to do it afterwards, and you also get it neater. So what I'm going to do here is just the weaving needle in that end warp, and it means it's less likely to kind of bow in as I weave. Put this back on. And I've done a short length because then I get to show you a colour change. And you can see how by now, it's probably easy to see against the desk, you can actually see which way you went last time because the ones you went over are lower. So you know that you're picking up every other one, but also the low ones. So it gets easier and easier to see what to do. So I'm just going to beat that down again. And through we go. I can hold this with my fingernail as well if I want. It just helps to keep from pulling it in, pulling the end warp thread in and making a waste in the weaving. The other thing to do is just put a little arch, a little bow across. It's called bubbling the weft if you're doing bigger weaving, but I don't think we really need to do many bubbles on this. Bubble is when it goes like that, but I'll show you what I mean on this row. You're not packing it down really, really, really tight. Just a little bit, just enough that it looks how you want it to really. So you see there I've got that arch shape. That is the bubble. That is what you do. Because at the moment, this weft yarn, the weft goes weft to white, it's going straight across, but as soon as I beat it down, it's got to go under over all those warp threads. So you need a little bit more of it to do that. So I'll show you what happens now we're at the end of a bit of yarn. So I'm going to actually put this needle through without the yarn in it, because the weft is too short for me to thread it through and then put the needle in the weaving. So here we go. Now I threaded it through the needle. I pull it through to the middle, hold on to that end warp again, and pull it out. And what I'm going to do is poke that end through to the underneath. And then just leave it there. You don't need to use knots to secure anything in weaving because the next row locks it in. So I'm now going to go over that one again in the same direction with my new colour, which is going to be blue. And you'll see this one is a double strand, which doesn't matter in the slightest. When I do the yarn packs that go with the looms, sometimes I put some double stranded ones in because you can get some nice colour and texture variations by doing that. So just using them exactly the same way. So under over we go. Remembering we're actually going to go either the same way or some of it's going to be woven the same way as the last row, because half of that row is woven and half of it isn't. But it really doesn't matter. And I'm just going to go to halfway